B-side word.
I get told at work that I'm a thinker, and they say it as if it's a negative thing, and I'm
Like
what?
you,
how
Mr.
is that a
Stewart?
bad thing?
are a thinker.
Yeah, me. Like, me at work. They literally tell me you think too much. I'm like, why? Like, how can you think too much?
So are you actually thinking
think there
about
are
people
people that-
thinking that you think too much?
No, but I reckon there are people that think too much. It's just like you can. Dev's a thinker, and like you can just
No, he's
ask.
not.
Dev's a thinker. I
feel like
And-
thinking too much can only be a negative thing if it
because
prevents you from doing things.
because there's
If
some
it prevents you from doing something, if it prevents you from actually
If
taking
it
how
doesn't
you
prevent
think.
you from doing anything,
Or how
why
you
is it a
think.
negative thing?
Yeah.
because like
Depends
I
how
could
you
just
think.
ask a simple question and it's overanalyzed. Like
Emma hates it when she asks me. She's like, it's like, do you want tea? Well,
no,
Oh,
that would
that's
be
me.
that would be like
100%, that is
chili
me. At work,
from
they
the
hate
Good
it.
Place. Hey guys, I'm Emma,
I'm Devin.
and we're from the B-side word, and we're hanging with CJ,
Maxie.
and Alexander. We're just a group of friends from around the world. We share and discuss thoughts on second page news. Come join us. Let's do my article next. So it's basically about GPS tracking school uniforms. What? Have you ever heard of such a thing?
Is it just like a tracker that you do if you're
Wow.
playing sport?
That conversation went nowhere quick.
Okay, let me elaborate. I'll elaborate.
Can you elaborate?
Chinese schools
Yeah.
are starting to enforce smart uniforms,
Okay.
right? So they've got GPS tracking systems built into all of their school uniforms, which monitors the students' whereabouts
Yeah.
pretty much at all times.
Yeah.
And it's to try and help with students skipping school or if they go missing, which is strange that would happen a lot. But anyway, this is only in the southwest province of Guizhou or Guizhou.
A name that we've incorrectly pronounced. We apologize, people of that town.
Always do that. And basically, so what happens is smart like GPS tracking within the uniform. As the student enters the school, it stamps the time and the date. And there's a recorded short video that the parents can see and access to show their students like entering the school, right? There's facial recognition to make sure that it is that student that's wearing that uniform. So you can't just like swap uniforms with somebody. If you try and leave the school grounds, it activates an alarm and an automated voice goes off saying to the student that, or I don't know who it goes off to, whether it's the student saying don't leave or it's like whether it comes up into the office saying,
Don't leave.
Such and such is trying to leave. And also in class, if a student's like falling asleep, an alarm goes off. Right? This
How
is
did the
crazy.
GPS? How does it know that? How does it know they're falling
I
asleep?
don't
It monitors
I don't
their.
know.
Face, probably.
What?
It's got that
I don't
iPhone fall
know.
thing.
It's-
That fall
yeah, it's probably
detection.
It's probably to do with
Fall?
how their
Fall
body
detection?
moves.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
remember-
where's they? GPS is one thing, but what other sensors do they have then
Oh,
if they
I
can
don't know.
detect motion?
don't
It might
know.
it might be to do. It might not be emotion. Maybe it's like muscles relaxing or something like that. Because when you sleep,
Then how did it detect that muscles are relaxing?
because
I have
it's
no
in the
idea.
clothing. I'm assuming it's not like a chip in the clothing. Because then
It
you just take
is-
it out. I'm assuming it's
Oh.
woven into the clothing and stuff. Because you'd have to wash them and all that.
Okay, I think
Yeah,
it
what-
is. I don't think it's a chip because it says it withstands up to 500 washes. So it's got to be sort of built in, yeah?
Ooh.
Oh, there.
Hmm.
So if it's in, so for example, imagine like it's threaded throughout. If it's like in the arm or something, and then you fall asleep and your arm relaxes, it could probably sense.
Yeah,
that.
so does that mean you've got to be like rigid all day? Like, oh,
Why not?
better
you,
not
can, you can
relax.
sense muscle contractions.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
No, I just think
I'm
it's
trying to figure
amazing.
out
Why
how
can't
they?
like when we started with GPS, a GPS itself can't do that. But I'm asking what
No,
other
yeah.
things it's monitoring. It's monitoring your blood. Like, is it
that's crazy.
Like,
I
how-
don't know.
if it's gonna monitor if your arm's relaxing? It has to be like stuck to your arm. It can't just or use some sort of infrared thing. You know what I mean? I want to know what else it's doing other than just GPS. Did it say any more, or did it just say
I
GPS?
don't know that. Oh, let me just have a quick look. I'll just double check. But also, so the schools
What?
say, oh, we're not using this all day or whatever. But, if someone does go missing or they do skip school, then we can sort of track and see where they are. But if the parents have an app showing them like video access, surely they're monitoring exactly sort of where
Yeah.
what
Well,
the students
Otherwise,
are
you'll
doing.
just use a phone. Like,
Exactly.
Has
phones can do
everyone-
that already.
Oh yeah,
Has everyone
exactly right.
seen this Black Mirror episode? Because this is already this is a Black Mirror episode.
Totally, but I haven't seen it. What?
It's a little different in the sense of in the Black Mirror one, what they do. It's just I guess the next step is they implant, so that you can see through the kid's eyes, and then
Is this
so
an old
when the
episode?
kid's out, you can. Yeah, this is
in the first season.
Is it in the first season?
I think so. If it's the one I'm thinking you're talking about.
And basically in this episode, it's the little girl and the mother looks through the eyes. But what they can also do on that, because it's through the eyes, is they can block what the kid can see. So for example, sexual content, it will be like pixelated for the kid in their actual.
Oh, okay.
We have not.
But
watched that
the idea
episode.
being that the parent, it's parental control. They can see where they're at all times. The kid gets
No way.
I can't remember if she gets kidnapped or runs away or gets lost, like at the park, and the mother uses it with the iPad to see where she is and all that. And it goes a bit grim. I think the kid ends up killing the mother or something
What?
Oh,
Because-
shit.
Oh my god.
because I can't something.
That's too
Was
much.
it that at the end, Maxie?
I don't know.
People go watch it. Go watch it.
Oh, he doesn't want to ruin the
watch it.
story. Okay, so I found out. So it's basically.
cut that ending bit out, Dev. Don't let me look.
Yeah, because you didn't say spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Idea being this surveillance of the child at all times in case certain things happen. And
That's
this
a
is
bit
just stepping
extreme, though,
stones
isn't it?
towards
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So basically, it has 2 chips. So one, they're inserted into each shoulder.
There's
Oh,
two
take them out.
So it is a chip. Yeah. So I don't
Take-
get it. What?
Take 'em
They got 2 chips on their shoulder.
out.
Yeah.
That face.
That's my
So,
joke. I made
yeah.
a joke face.
Isn't that crazy?
I hope the
though?
podcast listeners can
I'm
can
not
see
sure
that.
if-
If
like, a
your
part of me thinks it's a good idea,
parents-
part of me thinks it isn't.
What's happening
Parent-
in China
parents
that
in the
they need
house,
to
would
do
you use
this?
it?
No, it'll be a great thing. Let's say someone kidnaps a child, you'd be able to find
No,
them.
Dev.
That would be
No,
amazing.
the GPS is cool. I don't know about that. I don't know about that other shit.
Which part?
Is the
The,
GPS
like-
cool?
Like, I'd want to know.
Yeah, it would be.
Like, I want to know where they are.
But it's weird that
Well,
like you
okay,
expect your child to go to school and
I'm
now
not
all of a
I'm not going to
sudden
monitor them or anything. I'm
you've
just
lost
like, if they,
trust that they're not even going
But
to
if you're
school.
not going
like-
to monitor, why do you need it?
You
If
need,
he-
you
if
need
he-
it in the sense that someone comes up, picks up a child, throws them in a car, you can find the kid.
why would I?
that
why
part would
I?
be good. I would be
Yeah,
like,
but
I should have
okay,
got that.
let's go
GPS
backwards.
tracking
Let's go
uniform.
backwards.
Yeah.
Would you want GPS on you? Would you want to be able to be tracked at all times, regardless of even if
Again,
you could be kidnapped at some point?
at work, I'm getting tracked all the time.
Yeah.
All the
Do
time.
you like that?
Well, I
How
have
so?
to.
How so?
Yeah,
the
in
tr-
what way?
The,
In
in
what
the trucks.
capacity?
In the trucks, they know exactly where they have
The
the
cameras,
mapping. The
there
mapping
are
of
cameras
where
in the
we've been.
office. I have a pass. We have to swipe
Yeah, but
into
that's
each
not
door.
you.
They know where I am.
You're not the truck.
But
You get
I'm-
out the truck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, but that still counts though
Yeah, but-
because he's driving the truck.
But it's-
I'm not
It's
like
not.
I'm
That's
not more
quite a
than
big
10
leap
meters away from
between
the
the
truck.
two.
Beg your pardon?
I think it's quite a big leap to monitor where because I've been in vehicles that get monitored where they go versus me personally being monitored where I go. Like,
Well,
I think
if
they're
it's
two
your-
quite different things.
I don't think the leap's that big.
If you think about it, we're talking about where the world is. Like, Big Brother was a big concern 10 years ago, and we've gone far beyond where we were 10 years ago. And
yeah.
it's not slowing down. We're only going quicker in that direction. And unless people actually say their opinions instead of going, this comes back to me about the whole 3.5 million people in a room versus 8 people winning money. Like, why are we the employees going, it doesn't matter what we think, but we're the majority of the company.
Yeah, so I said this
Oh.
to Emma. I had this discussion with Emma, and I said, "Why don't the workers uprise?" And then Emma told me about this social in history. There was what was that? That the workers
Mm.
they didn't uprise even though they knew they had the power. You were telling me
Like Marxism.
it was a Marx. I don't know. I don't know what Marxism is.
No, well, he just predicted that there would be a social uprising
And it
to
never
overthrow
happened.
the
Did it ever happen?
bourgeoisie. Well, no, it hasn't.
No, it hasn't.
No,
I
Hasn't
don't know.
yet.
yet.
It's been
Whether it will,
I-
I'm not sure.
I don't know if it will, but it makes sense to me that it will at some point.
The,
'Cause we live in a really weird system.
in the early 1900s, there was a lot of union movement in the UK, and it made a big difference on how workplaces are. So that's what unions are there for. Like, if you're part of a union, like the train drivers in the UK, for example, are now asking for crazy money per year, and the company can't do anything about it because all of the train drivers run their company for them. That's how trains work. Someone sits in it and they drive it.
Yeah.
So it can happen for sure. If you join a union and you all come together as one, and there's laws around what
If
unions
there's a
can
union,
do. So
yeah.
if there's a union, but so it is possible. But I guess on this article there, that my thing is today already, right? If something goes wrong, if something happens to you, in a lot of cases, the police have enough data in terms of your phone, in terms of cameras on the street and everything else to figure out what happened to you, like pretty quickly. In a lot of cases, at least, and especially if you're the kind of person that has all your GPS trackers on and stuff like that, and if you're in a city, especially. But the difference is, and this is where for me the boundary is being crossed, is if they're doing it live and they can do it like whilst you're doing things, and they use it for things which aren't like life-threatening or to solve criminal offenses, then that to me is just like. Because what you're teaching the kids is, we're monitoring you, so you have to do well. When they grow up and they stop being monitored, what do? Do they go, oh, now I can do whatever I want? We should be encouraging the kids to do things because they're doing well, not because we're going to punish them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They shouldn't be going to school like, oh, I need to check in because someone's watching me. They should be checking because I need to go to school.
They'd become hyper vigilant, with everything.
Do you feel like religion has lost its power and they've had to do this? Because that's what religion was, right? Someone's always watching you. It's like you better do the right thing, or someone's like, or you got to do your.
Interesting.
That is interesting. Good
Has
point.
religion lost its?
I've never thought about it like that.
I think you're spot on, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think religion has lost its power everywhere, though, obviously.
He's had a
Dev's
he's had a win.
superhero.
He's had a win. He's out.
Win for the team.
It's over.
You better dance.
Floor's on the floor. He would have dropped his microphone if it wasn't
Nah,
attached.
it's too expensive. Microphone's too expensive. Microphone's
No, I think you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, I think so.
in 17 episodes. Mark this down because this will never happen again.
Hold on. Let's give him a slow clap.
This will never happen. This will never happen again.
All right, Dev, your article was about pubs.
Yes.
And what goes along with pubs? Books. So basically, this article...
That is such a mum joke.
I love it.
Oh,
I love it. I love your intros. I'm starting to love your
The
intros.
way you
Yeah?
introduce articles.
I
Emma.
really am.
thank you.
I'm really getting into your intros now.
Oh, that's
I
amazing.
sit on the edge of my seat, waiting with bated breath.
Okay, but legit, you wouldn't put pubs and books together, right? So this article of Dev's is talking about the great English pastime of reading whilst in the pub and why it's so great. I'd never heard of this, and I'm from England. Have you guys ever read in the pub?
We're not from England.
I've not done it, but I know of people
I've drunk
that
in the
have.
pub.
They take a book to the pub.
You've taken a
you've
book to
drunk
the
in a
pub,
pub?
did you say?
I know people who've taken books to the pub.
Oh,
yeah.
you do?
So what's wrong with
Apparently,
them?
it's a really good way, especially if you don't know people. It's a really good way to get to know people, because if you're sat in a pub reading a book, a lot of people will come and talk to you.
No
And it's
way.
icebreaker as well. And
Really? Does that
but
work?
genuinely, I know people who like to read in a pub because they like the social atmosphere, the sort of the aura of the place.
Should
but
we
they wanna read.
bring beer to the library?
Well, they say, why is it good? And they
How long
go,
the library still exists?
beer to the library.
You know.
So they say reading is good, social spaces are good, drinking in moderation is good or can be good. So those three together,
It can.
it's just, simple maths, right? But
It must have been a maths book they were reading.
but
We all know drink is good, except that. Move on.
But apparently there's with British pubs, and I think it is like a British tradition, it's like intertwined with like English literature. And I hadn't thought about this, but a lot of names of pubs have like writers within the names. I can't think of anything of anyone of any pub, but apparently they do, right?
Can we
Examples?
can we look
The
that
Mark
up?
Twain pub.
I'm gonna guess maybe like the Shakespeare-I-Inn or something like that.
I'll be laughing if there's a Shakespeare's in.
I bet you there's a Shakespeare-I-Inn.
Oh,
There definitely
come
is a
on.
Shakespeare's Inn. But it's
bet
just
you.
funny that we can now we're just going to say writers' names and call it an inn or a pub and just tell the audience, see, these are examples. These are examples of one we've made up, which you could have done yourself.
J.K. Rowling.
Post heaven.
But Shakespeare-I-Inn. Come on.
Shakespeare.
They're only
Ooh,
real.
that's a good
They're
one.
only
I like it. I like it.
Shakespeare-I-Inn.
Apparently, they're so popular that in like
Opening
London, Dublin, Edinburgh, you can actually go on a reading pub crawl.
That sounds like the most boring pub crawl in the
Do you have to,
history of
do you have to
pub
change
crawls.
book?
Let's be perfectly honest.
You have to
If I'm
change
going
book
to
every
the pub, I'm
or-
getting annihilated. Someone
Oh
is
my
carrying
God.
me out of there. And it's most likely him.
But to be fair, this does challenge our perceptions on
Everything.
what it is to be drinking.
Everything.
What do you mean?
CJ's question his whole
Because
life.
if you, like what CJ was saying, that genuinely is the purpose of drinking to a lot of people, is to get absolutely hammered.
Right.
Yeah.
But the idea of drinking, not just social, slow, casual drinking, but drinking while doing something educational in essence,
Yeah.
reading.
Doesn't make sense.
In my university
getting
days, I
drunk,
often
how am I
came
going
back
to
from a
read?
night out drinking and went straight to lectures. It didn't help me much in those situations.
Yeah.
In fact, there was one time I come back. I must have got back from, because we go into central London. We leave at like 1 a.m. to get there. Then I'm partying until 7 or 8, and then it takes an hour to get back. So I get back just before my 9 o'clock lecture. Every single time I have to go into the shop and buy a hoodie because I'm too cold. So I go and buy a hoodie. I've got about 5 other hoodies at home. I sit in the front row of the lecture, right? And because I'm still drunk, I'm like super confident. You know, I'm drunk. And then I know the answers to the questions. I'm like, yes, you know, just answering all these questions. And then after 20 minutes, I just fall asleep. So you imagine like the lecturer's like, ask a question to the audience, no one answers, then he sort of looks at me because I'm engaged. But this
And you're
time,
like,
I'm asleep.
Oh. That's a long night out.
That'd be a funny little skit.
That is a long
Hmm?
night out. 1 until 6, and then an hour.
You mean
That's a long-
We used to do that at that age.
till 6 a.m.?
6 a.m.
Yeah. I saw day clubs after the nightclub.
I used to
I
do
mean,
that.
we
I
have
went home.
done that, but
I went home after that.
Mm.
This also with the uni thing. My mate for his HSC, I think it's your A levels, your test.
Mm.
We do a test. He would smoke. He would chuff up and then study. And he said he could
Smoke?
like smoke weed. And he would smoke weed, and like because the weed, he said it'd make me focus on just that, right? And he'd read the whole textbook. He said, and he'd go in. I don't know how well he did, but he said he was just focused. He just kept reading and reading. So I don't know if it's true or not.
You've got to
Just-
come back to us with the end of that story. because
Have you seen this friend
the
recently?
moral is
No, I
drastically
haven't.
different
Okay.
depending on the outcome.
So this, most likely this friend is still unemployed and still smoking weed.
No, I do know that he is a information technology engineer. So he's a Microsoft certified. He's gone through the ranks of the Microsoft certified.
Man, I needed to get stoned when I was in school, didn't I? I missed a great opportunity then.
So he's I think the engineers, the Microsoft certified engineers, they're what, on 150?
Yeah.
Something 150?
What?
I was listening to the Chronic. I
Okay,
should have been smoking it.
That's
Let's not say his
crazy.
name then, Dev. We don't
No,
want
no.
to
He goes to
He lives in
goes to
this
the office on
area.
Monday. Excuse
Watch,
me.
we're in
sir.
2019. Someone's going to Google Dev, find out what school he went to, what friends he has, find out which universities they went to.
There was
Oh my
what
gosh.
sucks. I'm the
Microsoft,
one
and
that's
they're
gonna
gonna
get fired.
I actually miss
Train.
English pubs because you don't see them well, you don't see them over here.
It's hard to see English pubs
So-
in Australia.
Yeah, because you're in
Let's
Australia.
imagine.
Wait, did we start on pubs?
Yeah.
Yes,
How do
reading
we
in
get to
pubs.
trains?
I'm just imagining and remembering the good old British pub, like where we used to work. So red carpet, patterned carpet, dark
Shakespeare's
wooden
Tavern.
furniture.
Smell of mold.
Smell of mold.
Do you know,
low
in
ceilings.
Norway, they call them brown pubs. That's like their name.
Brown
A brown
pub?
pub is an
Oh,
English
brown
pub. Because
pubs.
the
Everything's
furniture,
brown.
the walls, the floor, the counter, everything's just brown.
It's
in an
brown,
English
like
pub.
dark brown.
Ah,
and then
true.
you've got like the beams up ahead, like
Do you know what's
low
weird about that?
ceilings.
Do you know
I
what
miss
else
that.
everything is brown in? Churches.
Oh yeah, that's true. Very true. The pews,
What colour's the floor in a church?
Normally
tiles,
stone, isn't it?
or yes,
A church.
stone.
The Beer Bavarian's a church now.
The bib,
What?
But your pews, your hymn
the
holders,
Bavarian beer
your
cafe is in an old
altar,
church.
the
It's all wood, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
that's
But I
essentially
miss
in-
that.
in-
You don't get that
in,
here.
in a pub, they even make
I
the
didn't want to point
carpets
it
and
out,
the
but yeah.
wallpaper and the curtains brown. Like even the things that aren't wood.
I've never been to a
I
brown
always
pub
see
before.
red carpet.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of
Or
red carpets
green.
over the years.
Yeah.
Red carpet,
Yeah.
green or cream walls.
So I've been to a British pub
Yeah.
when I was in England.
I didn't even know you'd been to England.
Yeah.
CJ is the man of the
This
world.
is a very.
Um,
There you go. That's a very British pub, isn't it?
Yeah.
yeah.
Very British. Yeah.
Just lots of shades of brown and red. You're right, red as well. Brown and red.
Can we all before next week go to a pub with a book and see what the experience is like?
No.
Even
By
for
the
like
way, I have read in a pub with a book before.
why
I've
have you
read-
just
I-
mentioned
I don't
this
think
now?
I could concentrate.
I normally do it in a coffee shop if I'm going to do it, but it's because when I work like around a lot and I'm staying in hotels, I'd rather read somewhere else or do something somewhere else than in my hotel. So pubs less often. It's normally a coffee shop, but when it's late after work, I will go to like a Weatherspoons, eat dinner, and then read.
What?
Has anyone ever come up to you and talked to you while you're reading?
I don't think that's a very London kind of thing to do.
They're intimidated by his intellect.
Weatherspoons, are they
reading.
considered pubs?
Weatherspoons?
Yeah.
It's like a bar.
I've never been in a Weatherspoon that looks like a pub. They're all
ones
like
in-
modernized, like
The one in
bars.
Banbury looks
Even,
like- the one-
in fact, they're
all the ones
They're
in-
closer to. Go on.
Where are you? The ones in
The
Banbury
ones I've
look
been to,
completely
they're
like
closer
pubs.
to clubs than they are to pubs.
I've only been to
Like, they're
one
dance
which was
floors.
Northampton, and that's more like a bar. But
I've been
I don't know.
Northampton. I've been in Brighton. I've been in.
Maxie is disgusted.
What's the other
Maxie
one?
is like-
He's insulted.
That's like the staple pub of England is Weatherspoons.
Milton Keynes.
really,
But they're not. The ones I've been in, they're not pubs. They're
I thought they're more
at
like
least
bars,
a bar,
but I don't know.
if not
You know what I
club.
miss? Pub food.
No,
I
I
bet-
wouldn't actually say club, but they're
Is
bars. I would
Weatherspoons a
say.
pub or? And it said restaurant. It didn't even suggest
I
club.
think he's drinking. I miss.
See, restaurant. No, I wouldn't. I'd take club back. It's not club. I didn't even say that because they got dance.
Oh, no, it's
they
not
had
a
dance
club.
floors ones I've been in, but bar definitely for sure. They're
Yeah, I
big.
think a
like,
bar-
Weatherspoons are big.
Opinions.
Everyone I've
gentlemen?
been in is 2 stories as well.
Okay, then I read a book in a bar.
Yeah,
Looks like
No, I was
Jackson's
just
Doors.
curious.
well, what's the difference between a bar and a pub?
that
I'll ask my friend.
A pub is
Oh,
more homely.
difference.
a pub is like
Yeah,
cozy,
pubs
Yeah.
are more like a home.
cozy atmosphere.
Bars are more like
and-
You
social.
did a drink.
Well, not
Yeah.
social, but like yeah.
Okay.
so
yeah,
over here,
I
there's
know.
more bars. I
Like
feel like
pubs, there's like booths and stuff. Like,
It says
What?
bars are.
Yeah, that's a strip club.
What does it say, Max?
Yeah.
Go on, Maxie.
You don't want to picture?
Oh, this isn't a definition. Someone said bars are establishments that serve drinks for consumption on the premises, and a pub generally is a place for the locals to hang out and eat and drink.
yeah, well, there you go.
Interesting.
The locals.
Is a tavern
got-
a pub?
Tavern.
Oh, I was just say we've got one more, and if we do it in the next 30 minutes, we would have hit the 2-hour target.
Oh wow!
Sweet. Hey, have you ever seen a good pub with a flat roof?
No.
No.
Germany.
Flat roof.
Germany.
Germany.
Where in
Germany?
Germany?
Yeah, they're flat roofs in Germany, aren't they?
No, they're not.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a big thing in Germany, flat roofs.
Oh
I thought they
yeah.
were quite
I
big.
actually am looking at flat roof pubs.
Are they in Germany?
Okay. I don't know.
What the hell's a tavern?
I don't know. You stumped me.
What the hell is a bloody?
What is a tavern?
And what's an inn? Is an inn a bloody place where you
somewhere
you drink?
Drink.
Well, isn't it in where
Yeah.
you can stay as well?
Yeah, you can stay. When you get pissed,
You
Oh,
can
you
stay
stay.
at the
yeah.
inn.
I don't think this is going to add much clarity, but a tavern is an inn or a public house.
Oh god.
And then what is an inn? An inn is a tavern or a public house.
Oh
And what's a
my
public
God.
house? Is it a tavern?
An inn or a
I'm
tavern?
joking. Then
Can I
an
just
inn
say-
is a pub, typically one in the country. In some cases, providing accommodation.
Ah.
Gotta
And you
stay
know
at the
how
inn.
I said it would be called the Shakespeare-I-Inn? I've just found a good mighty bunch of them.
All right, let him rip. This will be the
are
ending.
any of them called?
No, that was
Are
the
any of them
ending.
called the Shakespeare-I-Inn? Because if not, I'm opening it.
I don't know.
So the article I brought in this week, the title comes in the form of a question. So I'm just going to say the title, and then you guys can try to answer the question. But it's not the
Okay.
easiest question to answer. Okay.
Right.
So the title is: What if schools focused on improving relationships rather than their test scores?
Does that mean like to completely getting rid of tests, completely getting rid of like exams and everything?
It means they focus on improving relationships instead of test scores.
Okay.
So my assumption would be they keep the test scores, but they're not as important. The most important thing is how those kids build relationships.
I think that's
As someone who
Good.
works in a school, I think that we need to stop doing tests altogether. So that's my answer.
yeah.
It annoys me when someone answers a question without answering the question. What? So you're saying
If I think you should get rid of one, that obviously means go with the other.
Yeah, but what
Sorry.
I'm saying is, what
Sorry,
if?
I take that
what
back.
if?
I want
what
to
happens
remove the
if?
word obviously from my vocabulary. I'm working on that. I apologize.
What happens if schools focused on improving relationships rather than
Oh,
test scores?
sorry. I thought. What happens if it'd be better for society?
It's a good thing.
Yeah, I
massively.
think it'd be a good thing.
Hugely.
Majorly, standardized testing is what for the government's use only.
If you
to
judge
sort
a
of
fish
figure
by
out.
its ability to climb a tree, it'll spend its whole life thinking it's stupid. And we judge all the fishes by their ability to climb a tree. Because one fish climbed a tree one time.
I've never judged a fish based on how well it climbs a tree.
I ate a fish today.
This is okay, so this is
Oh,
Did it
something
climb
I
a
I'm
actually
tree?
asked people.
shy.
So
This
did the
is
one I
a
ate.
question I asked people at the school this week. And I'll ask you because it fits in with this. Of the people who performed best in school that you're aware of, for example, that you went to school with, how many of them performed best in the real world?
Oh,
no.
actually,
The stoner guy did well, by the sounds of it.
He wasn't the smartest bloke.
Yeah, but he's stoned half the time, so I guess he was.
I don't.
The thought-
what do you mean
the
by
thought-
perform best in school? Like test scores?
So I'm talking the people by the way schools measure performance, not by the way
Mhm.
we perceive like, oh, but you were in extra, but genuinely by the way a school is measured and set up to measure you. The
Mhm.
people who do the best in that system, how many of them do the best in the real world?
Well,
I only
that's the
know
thing,
I
the
know
best of-
one.
What do the
I know one.
what?
He
Done what? What one?
So he was the best in I think he did 4 year in maths, he did physics, like he did very well in school. His scores were pretty high and he got a pretty high UAI. He did enough to get his UAI to go into university. He declined university. He did a cadetship in telecommunication and now he owns a business gym. He runs a consulting business as a telecommunicator engineer, and I think he has another side business doing something else. So one.
So this person, the one person that you can point out, not only was the best in the system, he also forewent the system to go into the real world because he didn't go to university.
No, but he got a cadetship. So a cadetship is had to study at technical TAFE.
Yeah.
So it was a form
Okay,
of
alright.
further
It was
education.
work and training.
So you've got one.
Yeah.
How about the rest of you? Do you guys know anyone who was like top in your school who then is also gone on to be successful?
I know the same bloke he does.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I
no,
think it's
sorry.
a convoluted question.
Why?
That was a good word, wasn't it? I googled the
Convoluted.
definition to double check.
Can you give us a definition?
Complex question.
Yeah.
It's extremely complex and difficult to follow.
Why? Okay,
Firstly,
not
I
best
don't
in
know
real world,
how
but
I define
successful.
success in the real world.
Societally defined success.
In that case,
So what
most people that I know
society
that did well at
determines to be
school are
successful?
better off financially than most people I know that didn't do well at school.
I think Alexander, you're
But
getting
it could be
to...
rigged. It could be rigged because I went to university, so the people I know well. Actually, no, that's not rigged. They went to university as well. Like, I stayed in touch with people that went to university, and I stayed in touch with people that haven't. And the ones that went to university are all doing better financially than the ones that didn't. Just about.
But I'm
Or
not
if
talking
they're
about,
not yet, they're
hold
on
on,
their
hold
way
on,
to
hold on.
be.
Let's go back. I'm not
Are you
talking about
trying to
people who
get
go
to the fact
university.
that...
I'm talking about the people who do the best. I'm talking about the
Oh.
smartest people in school.
Yeah,
The people who ace every test. The people who academically would be defined as the top of the class. Those people.
yeah.
Well,
in my small
Hazel's
case,
one of those,
that's-
my friend.
Because what I'm trying to get at is if you have a system that drives people to a point Because the point is for all of us to be that person in school. If school was perfect, we would all be the smartest kid in class. We would all be top right there at the same level, incredibly intelligent, acing tests. That would be if the system worked perfectly. But how often does that translate to real world success? Because to me, the system isn't actually developing people to be successful. Because if you are great at the system, you're not great in the real world. You can be, but the chances are you're not. Because there's a lot of other
Are you
things
saying
you
like
missed out on
socially
developing.
and stuff?
Hmm?
Are you saying like socially and stuff? As in building bonds,
Not just social,
relationships with people?
in everything. Like when does knowing a lot of stuff mean you're good at things? Or when does knowing a lot of stuff mean you can survive?
Yeah, but there's a balance, I guess. 'Cause there's so much stuff that most people should know. There's a lot of stuff people like. It's good to have everybody know a set amount of stuff.
Yeah, I think
Like,
there is a balance.
Okay, for example, I'm dealing with 15-year-olds. That's my job is to deal with 15-year-olds. 15 and 16-year-olds who are about to take their GCSEs, which are in England, big set of exams they have to take in order to go on to the next stages, to be able to do other things.
Mm-hmm.
I've not worked with a single kid who was doing classes that they're all like, yeah, these are things I'm interested in. These are things I need to know. You're already in failure at that point because they're not going to know those things because they don't care. They're not interested. But I would also argue that of all the classes they're taking, they don't need to be taking most of them. Like, why does someone need to be taking geography at that level to be able to survive in a world? Like, if someone wants to be in a field that requires that knowledge, great, go for it.
So you think people should specialize earlier? When do people start to specialize?
No, I don't think they should specialize. I don't think they should specialize earlier. I think they should specialize later. One, when they have more idea on what they're going to do. But I think the general topics that I don't even think it should necessarily be put into subjects and topics. I think it should just be about learning life. Like, learn how to survive in life. Why do you need to sit in a geography class? Why do I need to sit in a history class? Why do I need to sit in a maths class? Like, you can learn about all these things without having to sit in a dedicated class for that subject, of which you're only going to educate maybe 5-10% of the people because of the way you teach and the way they learn. I just think the whole system needs to be torn down from the start and
I think the system needs
completely rebuilt.
Rebuilding.
Yeah, I agree. I just think I wonder, but when you say stuff like,
I agree that they should. I agree with the statement. The question should. I think the emphasis should be on the relationship more than on test results and exam results, and that's even shown here. Dev's cousin got into uni before he even sat his HSC, which is equivalent to A levels, based off of just his ongoing performance via ongoing assessment within the classroom, like just informal assessment, and based off of, I don't know if in his situation the principal, but quite often the principal can put in a word for you for how you've been sort of throughout the school years, and that's before you've even sat the exam. So the exam isn't the be all and end all. So the emphasis shouldn't be on the actual.
So I got a question. If we focus on relationship, does that lead to corruption?
No,
Why?
not in school.
Why?
In school.
Hold on.
So how about if you got a
relationship?
if you have a better relationship with the teacher, or you seem like you're very good at communicating yourself, you're well received with other students. If the principal, like, you know what I mean?
That's the student's responsibility to be able to manage, like, effectively.
The
But are you talking?
That's
about
the
if that's
teacher's
one
responsibility.
person?
Apologies, to be able to effectively
does
teach
it-
their students. And
Does
interact
it
with their
foster
students.
corruption if everyone is developing the relationships?
Yeah, but some people develop relationships at a different level.
But that's what I mean. It's on the
But that's the
teacher
point, is
to
we're
build
saying
relationships
if
with the
we're-
students.
Because, all right, so
like,
to give you an
there's
example
some
how I
kids
think
that
it
won't
would
be
really benefit.
very talkative, be
Well,
quite quiet.
But that's what I mean. You have, as a teacher, your class is going to be diverse.
So if a very specific example, what if two people want to become a surgeon? One of them is very confident and good at talking, and the other one's actually better at being a surgeon but is more introverted. Does the one who has a better relationship with the teacher get to go through because of that?
So this is
Yeah, and then
exactly
other
the
one who
reason
probably
why.
do a better job.
No,
won't.
but this is exactly
that's
the
gonna
reason why the emphasis shouldn't be on the
develop
test
their ability
results,
to build
because,
relationships.
like multiple intelligences suggest, one person might be very good with writing, therefore good with their written exams, for example, whereas another person is more practical and hands-on.
Yeah.
So
I think it has to be more balanced.
Exactly, it has to be
So-
balanced.
Because
To give
you
you an
need a bit of
example
testing,
of-
and you also need a bit of. You need both.
Yeah.
To give you an
So-
example
How
of
about if
working in a school,
Mm.
the why I feel like fostering the ability to have functional relationships. There are kids in the school, the kids who will not progress in the school that I work in because they are disruptive or bad behavior or anything like this. 99.9% of the time, their bad behavior is caused by the adult having a lack of ability to form a proper relationship with the kid.
Exactly.
So the adult has terrible handling of the situation, escalating everything, and causing that kid to now not get an education.
Yeah.
I see it every day, multiple times a day.
Yeah, I see that happen. I've seen that happen actually.
Yeah, it does happen. And
like,
also,
I-
even in your article, Max, this one, I think I
Mhm.
glanced over the fact that this lady, it was about this particular teacher talking about how she originally left being a teacher because it just became so bureaucratic and ended up working in another school where it was a little bit more socially disadvantaged students. And I guess that's why the emphasis there was more on relationship building, because if you're a student coming from like a socially disadvantaged background and you don't get much support from home, or just a background where you sort of get neglected or no support from your parents, those relationships are what's going to actually basically affect the rest of your life, rather than, well, can I do 4 + 4? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's all about the relationship. So I guess in some situations it's more important, but I think across the board it's got to be balanced. But I do say that the emphasis needs to be taken off of,
because this topic made me think of that smart kid of mine, like when I was younger. Like, he had no communication skills, wouldn't really talk to people, but he was actually quite smart. Like, so if we go to personalities, he's gonna start failing. He's gonna start failing where we succeed, but then vice versa.
Exactly. Agree.
So we have to find a
here's
way
the-
to
so here's the
measure,
disadvantage.
like, is it a case where we measure everybody on like every aspect that we can kind of define, like socially, like maths type skills, analytics, do you know what I mean? Or is it that we put the emphasis on the student, like, you know what, next week we've got a test. We've got a talent show. You come into my office and you present either in the form of a test, either you do and then they can choose what they think their best skill is and put it forward.
That's one
But
way of.
Let me
I don't
ask,
know
let
what
me
the
ask a
solution is.
question. As an employer, why do I need to know your test scores to know if you can do the job?
Exactly.
If you're a lawyer, like
Yeah.
in
An
Melody's
employer,
case, they're
an employer.
the employer will look at you
Your marks.
as in a class. If you
Why
were like
can't-
a lawyer, for instance.
How many jobs
They-
have you been to, job interviews, or in the interview process where you have to do something to show you're capable of doing it?
Well, for me as an engineer, basically most job.
I guess
interviews I've
some
been to-
So then
certain
why
jobs
do I need
like
to know how good you-
surgeons and
why
stuff.
do I need to know your
it's
test scores
gonna
if
be
I can
important.
literally view how good you are?
Pardon?
I can if I can determine how good you are at the job by testing you. Why do
Yeah.
I need you to have test scores? How
Oh,
is
no,
that
no,
relevant?
well, I think it's
We've been in a
the
few job
test, like,
interviews.
in
Yeah,
certain
yeah.
industries. Like, I think as an engineer, the reason my test scores at uni is good, like maybe like not even if it's test, but coursework and everything else. Like, they need to understand that I can take a concept and then explain it to them quite simply, like in the way I write coursework, or in maybe the tests aren't always the best.
But
way
they're
to
never
do it,
reading your coursework. They're not reading your. They don't know what your coursework says. They just look at
They,
your
they
grade.
don't have time to read my coursework. They
Right.
can't read every applicant's
I
coursework.
understand this, but what I'm saying is, to me, if I can, if I have a job that I need someone to do, and then I can test to see if you can do that job, everything else that I know about you, as far as education, is
but-
irrelevant.
So if everybody applies, right? If 100 people apply, which ones do you choose? Just random?
Yeah, there's certain
The
industries
ones who
where
perform the best.
the results are going to matter, but I think the results should be from, let's say you're an engineer or a surgeon or whatever. That's going to be your that's going to be your adult education. What do you call it? Adult education. Whatever.
Higher
Tertiary.
education.
Tertiary education, right? So in those situations, exams, summative testing is important, but in primary school,
Why is it important? Why is
Alex,
it important to have a test,
my
an exam?
company I worked for last time, they had eight employees, right? If say 1,000 people applied to them, are they going to take it on themselves to test all 1,000 of them?
that you need to be you have to
Yeah,
have. They've
why
got
not? It doesn't take.
So-
it
You don't
takes
have the
literally no
time.
more
That's
effort for
not
them to test
efficient.
all of them.
Wait,
than
wait,
just
so-
test one person.
That's a wrap, guys. If you enjoyed today's podcast, then please subscribe and leave a comment on YouTube. You can catch us on Spotify, iTunes, and Podbean. Bye until next week.